Sounds good. So thanks everyone for coming. If you haven't already, please feel free to drop where you're coming from into the chat. This session is being recorded for later access on YouTube. So if you're uncomfortable with that, please feel free to leave your videos off. At any time, please feel free to drop questions into the chat. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, and we may answer some of them as we go. So with that, we are going to first give an overview of Activate and the Berkeley community, and then we'll have some intros from some of our current fellows. And then, as I said, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So I will hand it over to Jill.
Hi, everyone. I am Jill Foose. I'm the Managing Director of Activate Berkeley, and super glad to see everyone here today. We've got a good list of attendees. Anyway, thanks for coming today. Really appreciate it. All right. So 2025 is our 10-year anniversary in Berkeley. This is a big milestone, and we're really super excited to have you possibly be part of it. So we've supported over those 10 years 111 fellows, building 86 companies. So super exciting. All right, next slide. Todd, you want to go into our origin story?
Yep, sounds good. Can people hear and see me? I am Todd Prey. I'm the Chief Strategic Partnerships Officer at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. We've been working with Activate since the beginning of the program. And in fact, Activate is a successful spinoff from the lab itself. The original people that founded Activate came from Berkeley Lab, and they realized moving out of the lab and forming a nonprofit would really increase the impact of this kind of program. And so this entrepreneurial fellowship model where Lawrence Berkeley Lab teams up with Activate was the first of the Department of Energy's lab-embedded entrepreneurship programs, which we'll talk a bit more about later, but they've expanded across the country to other labs. And so really, this started as an experiment where we wanted to provide resources and an ecosystem for entrepreneurs doing hard tech, clean tech, to be able to de-risk their technology and come out of the program with the ability to raise funding and grow their companies, which many of them have done now and have been very successful. And so, as said in stage 2, the fellowship model, expanded to other laboratories, Argonne, Oak Ridge, and NREL. And Activate also launched their Boston program, and now they've grown to even more sites. And so with this fellowship model in Activate Berkeley and Cyclotron Road, you get the best of both worlds. The National Lab resources and ecosystem and technical mentorship, and the Activate's team, entrepreneurial mentorship and business support.
Thanks, Todd. So now we can introduce the team a bit. As I said, I'm Jill Foose, Managing Director of Activate Berkeley, and in my role, I am the primary mentor to all of our fellows, and it is a privilege and a joy to work with the fellows. I love it. I was also a fellow in the program. I was in cohort 2018, so I'm an alum. So I'm the only managing director that has had that experience of both being in the program and now mentoring our fellows. Abby?
My name's Abby Thompson, and I am the fellowship manager at Berkeley. I'm fairly new in this position. I've been here for about 2 months now. My own background is in biology and science communication. And in this role, I help keep everyone organized, to keep things running, help run sessions and things like that.
Is Caroline here?
I don't think so.
Okay, do you want to introduce Caroline?
So Caroline is our fabulous fellowship associate. So she helps keep everyone on schedule. She does all sorts of administrative tasks, calendaring, all of those things that really are essential for keeping our fellowship operations running smoothly. So the 3 of us, Jill, me, and Caroline, make up the community-facing team. So we're the ones that you would be working with quite closely in the Berkeley office. And then we work very closely with the staff at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. I'll hand it over to Todd.
Yeah, thank you. And perhaps if Tom, Melanie, Katie, and Dunda could come on screen just to say hi real quick. As I mentioned, I'm the lab's Chief Strategic Partnerships Officer in the lab directorate. So we work directly with our Chief Research Officer to really provide the support for this program and the interface with the Department of Energy. We're really privileged to have Tom Kirkstetter, who is one of our division directors in the energy technologies area, serves as our Chief Science Advisor. So Tom, do you want to say hi real quick?
Yep. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, so as Todd mentioned, I'm a science division director here at Berkeley Lab. I've been at Berkeley Lab for about 23 years. I provide science support to this fellowship program. I've been connected with the program and really fell in love with it over the past 4.5 years. I've worked closely with Todd and Jill and others at Activate as a member of the course selection team. I'm really looking forward to doing that again to select cohort 2025.
Thanks, Tom.
Hi, I'm Melanie Sonstang. I'm program manager at Berkeley Lab for the Cyclotron Road program. My role is to help our fellows find the resources that they need at Berkeley Lab and help them navigate being at a national lab and associated with the University of California. So I end up getting to know the teams really well, and I'm looking forward to hearing from more of you. Katie?
Hi folks, I'm Katie Rose DeLeon. I am the lab manager and safety lead. So I support your on-site laboratory spaces at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab and provide safety oversight.
Lastly, Dunduk.
Hello guys, my name is Dunduk Tofton, and I'm the administrative assistant at the Cyclotron Road program. I usually help our fellows and also teammates with all the administrative tasks, procurement, travel, anything administrative related to the lab. So looking forward to meet you.
All right, thanks everyone for those introductions. So as you can see, you will have a big team that is supporting you and cheering for you in the fellowship. Okay, so next slide. As we mentioned briefly, Activate is a national organization, and we have 5 communities located across the country. Activate, in addition to Berkeley, Boston, there's Boston, New York, Houston, and a fully virtual program called Anywhere. Today, we're talking about Berkeley specifically, but also built on the same model that we have here in Berkeley. The Department of Energy has expanded to other national labs. And so on the next slide, Todd's going to tell you about that.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. You know, Cyclotron Road started in 2015. Activate spun out of the lab soon thereafter. And I believe in 2017 and 2018, Chain Reaction Innovations at Argonne National Lab and Innovation Crossroads at Oak Ridge started. And so they have similar, they do not work directly with Activate. They work with other local ecosystem partners for their programs. And I should say, all of you are, are able to apply to these other DOE programs as well that are not part of Activate or Berkeley Lab, but they also provide a great support system. And most recently, 3 years ago, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Golden, Colorado started Westgate, a similar program there in their applied energy spaces. And we all collaborate with each other and with the Department of Energy to help provide funding, resources, and networking connectivity for our innovators and fellows.
All right, Todd, I think this one's you to just go through this last overview of our partnership.
Sure, I can do that. I think we touched on several of these points, but they're just spelled out here for your reference. As Jill mentioned, we're going into our 10th year, which is really exciting in this coming cohort. And Activate and Cyclotron Road have both expanded, across the DOE system and the country with the other Activate communities. And just a more technical detail, fellows in the Activate Berkeley Cyclotron program access lab facilities and R&D funding, which comes from the DOE or other sponsors through the partnership between Cyclotron Road and Activate at Berkeley Lab. So you can use those funds for equipment, supplies, specialized experiments and campaigns, other resources inside and outside the laboratory.
That's great. So just to summarize, here in Berkeley, you are at the intersection of both the LEEP program and Activate's program, and we are the only place where that happens. And I think it's pretty magical, this partnership that we have here. So just as an overview of the fellowship and what it entails, in case you haven't been to one of our other webinars, it's a 2-year fellowship, $100K in stipend plus travel allowance, health insurance, relocation funds, $100K in R&D funds, and access to additional flexible capital. Those first 2 bullet points, the stipend and the R&D funds, we take no equity, no fees for that. And then the access to additional flexible capital, that's fully optional. Yeah. We have this amazing entrepreneurial education program that is built for scientists, by scientists, largely. So really building on your scientific and engineering training, and understanding where you're coming from. And, you know, it's tailor-made for you. And then through our partnership with Cyclotron Road, you get access to world-class facility at Berkeley Lab and access to the terrific scientists that work there. And then you're part of the Activate community. So advisors, partners, champions, you get mentorship through the managing directors, work with our team, and we have an amazing network of investors, potential advisors, and an amazing community of alumni and current fellows. Okay, next slide. So what does the Berkeley community look like? Nuts and bolts. We have bi-weekly local programming. Every other Thursday, we gather for a day of learning and connection. That day looks like from 12 to 1, we have a community lunch. Then it's followed by programming for an hour and a half. And then from 2:30 to 4:30, we do what we call collisions. And these are one-on-one meetings with guests that we bring in. Those can be investors, service providers, lawyers, potential advisors, you know, people that want to help you and help your company succeed. And then that's followed by a social hour as well. And topics for programming, they are often founders talks. So learning from alumni who are just ahead of you. It can be people from who have built other companies. So those recent guests have been alumni like Richard Wong from Qberg, Cody Finking from Brimstone, Jay Swalby from Nitricity. We've had Kalisa Bhargava from LBL to talk about federal relations, and then Jesse Simons, who is the co-founder of Solar Cycle, gave a really interesting talk about recycling solar panels. So it just varies, those guests, but they're all high quality and you know, really important for you to hear their perspectives as you build your companies. We also do community events, regular community events like social hours, summer picnic, holiday party, hikes, game nights, mini golf. It's pretty fun. And then programmatically, we do monthly one-on-one check-ins with staff. So that's largely with me. You also do quarterly advisory board meetings with Activate staff plus advisors that we hope that you will use this to build relationships with. And then, as I said, regular community events. And this is all of our local programming. This is in addition to the national programming, educational programming that we provide. And that's in the form of, we have a program called Elements of Entrepreneurship that you will do in the first 3 months of your fellowship to learn about the basics of entrepreneurship. And then there are regular short courses that we call Founder Learning Pods or FLIPs. And we offer several short courses every quarter for you to build on your learning. And those can be on topics like hiring or management, or you know, maintaining your mental health as an entrepreneurial founder, and so on and so on and so on. So thanks. Okay, Melanie.
Finding my mute button, thanks. Yeah, so a little deeper dive on what you can get from the Cyclotron Road LEEP program side of this at Berkeley Lab. We are a world-class research center, a national lab that has been around for decades and has a really amazing array of different research departments and initiatives. Through the fellowships connection with us, you also get a connection, as Todd was mentioning, to the overall lab-embedded entrepreneurial program community across 3 other national labs and potentially expanding. We also help connect our fellows with various federal and state visitors that come through Berkeley Lab. Often we'll have either folks from the state government or from regional industry, et cetera, that may visit the lab that will often want to meet our fellows and learn what the lab is doing to help entrepreneurial initiatives. We also provide access to an array of lab facilities that is far too long to go over in a brief overview here. So at the bottom of this slide, which you will receive later, you'll see that there is a lbl.gov capabilities. I highly recommend going there and seeing the entire array of centers and user facilities that are available at the lab. Just a few are shown here. The Molecular Foundry is one that is used by many of our fellows, and continuing on after the program, many of them come back and continue to use those facilities. They have 7 different facility floors at the Molecular Foundry, and the array of things that our teams do there is extensive, but a lot of it is material synthesis and characterization. We also have Flex Lab, which is the most advanced test bed for integrated building and grid technologies. We have a lot of connectivity with UC Berkeley. Many of our fellows end up using facilities and resources and expertise, both with scientists up on the hill, as we say, at Berkeley Lab, and also down at UC. And then another one that is frequently utilized by current fellows is the Advanced Biofuels Bioproducts Process Development Unit. The shorter version of that is ABPDU, and that facility enables early stage advanced biofuels, biomaterials, and biochemicals product and process technologies to help you scale them from the lab to commercial relevance. In addition to that, through our program, you will be hooked up with laboratory and office space according to the needs and availability that our program provides. We have spaces across a number of different buildings to put people adjacent to research collaborators in departments that they want to access facilities at. We also support your CRADA, which is a cooperative research and development agreement, which is how we help protect your IP and manage your R&D funds at the lab. So at the end, there will be a list of ways that you can connect with us. If you have specific questions around Berkeley Lab, Cyclotron Road, or LEEP, we will have some one-on-one sessions that people can sign up for. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Oh, go ahead.
So,
Go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
So you're looking. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. So you're looking at the application timeline, and this illustrates the process that begins with the open of applications in early September and ends on June 1, which is the start, which is the date that the fellowship begins. So we form a core selection team with 2 members from Activate and 2 members from Berkeley Lab, and it's our job to execute many steps of the application down selection, starting in November, shortly after the close of the application period. So we typically start with a couple of hundred, say 200, 250 applications, and we work together closely as a team. And we also have important input from our network of subject matter experts. And we narrow down from a couple of hundred to 30 to 35 applications in midway. And as we progress along this timeline, we have increasing amounts of engagement with you, the applicants. In January and February, we interview the 30 to 35 remaining applicants. And then we make another down selection to 15 to 20 applicants. And those 15 to 20 are invited to our finalist week at the end of March. Our team will meet with each of those 50 to 20 applicants to prepare them for giving a finalist pitch. And in the finalist event, those 15 to 20 applicants give their best pitch and then have a conversation with a curated set of experts. And that's what gives us, the core selection team, what it needs to choose the 10 applicants who will ultimately form cohort 2025. The links at the bottom for more information, and also to sign up for office hours with our recruitment team, also to listen to recorded recruitment webinars. So please go to activate.org/apply or cyclotronroad.lbl.gov/engage.
All right, Tom. And actually, Abby, if you can go back to the previous slide, I just wanted to highlight 2 things. One is through Cyclotron Road. Oh, the previous one. Yeah, through Cyclotron Road, they are your gateway to the LEEP community as well. So LEEP has events as well. There's a retreat, there's a demo day. It's a growing community as well. So I wanted to highlight that. And also, Berkeley Lab has the best view from a lab. I don't know if you can see that. It's a really killer view. Yeah, not to be missed. All right. So if you go ahead, we have an upcoming Berkeley event. We're going to have a recruitment happy hour. This is the only place you'll see it. So on October 3rd from 4:30 to 6 p.m., we'll be meeting at Cornerstone in Berkeley on Shattuck Avenue. Come on by. We will be there, and you can ask questions, interact with our current fellows and alumni, and hope to see you there. Okay.
Thank you,
So,
Jill.
yes, go ahead, Abby.
So now we're going to pass it over to two of our current Activate Berkeley fellows to introduce themselves and talk a little bit more about their experience in Activate Berkeley and why they chose this particular community. So first up, we'll do Will.
Everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah. So my name's Will, as it says here, the founder of a company called Morphosis. We make neurotechnology. And yes, the first question, why I chose Berkeley. The cheap answer is that I already lived in Berkeley, so it was an easy decision. Although I also lived in Boston, I would love to live in New York. I think the other communities are great, but definitely going partial to the Bay Area, mostly because it's this huge technological hub. There's world-class research institutes, UCSF, UC Berkeley, Stanford. It's close to Silicon Valley, super high density of technical expertise, other startups. And right now it's the epicenter of current generation of machine learning, biotech, and other things. Yeah, I mean, you guys are underselling, I think, a little bit Cyclotron Road. I mean, it is, which is the national lab component of Activate Berkeley. It's probably the most prestigious, well-known hardware incubator on the planet. And after being here for over a year now, I can definitely say that it lives up to the hype. So you guys are amazing. Yeah, what's special about this community? Yeah, the people. Jill's answer of the view from the Berkeley lab is a really good one. It's very, very, very beautiful. But serious answer, which you probably will hear from anyone that as part of Activate or Activate Berkeley, is that the community of founders that are here. Berkeley is definitely the oldest community in Activate and has maybe the most diverse network as a consequence of that. But yeah, I think I've definitely grown greatly from the mentorship and example of the fellows that have come before me and that I am part of a cohort of. Yeah, and that is kind of also the same answer to the next question, which was most impactful part of the fellowship so far, is being definitely part of a group of other people who are going through the same process of going from being a scientist, engineer, and working in the lab to thinking a little more broadly has been very, very, very helpful. And definitely, not to beat around the bush, the financial resources that gives you protected time to be able to develop those skills and mindset are also very, very helpful, which is why, yeah, definitely not to understate that. Yeah, that's it. If I don't say anything more, good luck everybody who's on here and is applying to Berkeley.
Thank you, Will. Next up is Paulina.
Yeah, awesome. Hi, everyone. So I'm Paulina. I'm co-founder and CEO of Collectra, and we're very lucky to be selected to the Activate Berkeley cohort 2024. So super grateful to be part of this incredible community. Why Berkeley? Well, I guess, as Will was also saying, kind of the easy answer is that my co-founder was actually Nate Wager, who was finishing his PhD at the time at UC Berkeley, was already here and had been here for the past 5 years doing his PhD. However, well, I was still back in Finland, so I moved here to the US and to Berkeley. And I personally have a very strong hypothesis kind of for the Bay Area for the very early stages of building a startup. Like at the very early stages, you don't, you need the lab access, but you importantly also need connections and people around you. Like you need to find customers, you need to find investors, you need to find potential employees, you need to find partners, you need to find advisors, people that are going to help you move forward. And in the Bay Area, there's just a ton of events happening that are enabling you to, to do this. Well, we are specifically building in the climate tech ecosystem, and there's just a ton of events that you can attend where you can meet incredible people that always ask you, how can I be helpful? And then the next day they make the most incredible introduction, and then hopefully you can also pay that back with your own introductions to other folks. Yeah, what's special about the community? I want to say also the people and the other founders, and it's just incredible that you're meeting with so talented, like driven people every other week. We have these bi-weekly meetings. You get to actually know the other founders and fellows, and we have also been hanging out a fair bit also like outside the fellowship. So there's also like really amazing friendships that are being built. There's another thing that's, I guess, special about the Berkeley community and Activate Cyclotron Road teams. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we are the only community where the 100K R&D funding is like actually a grant. So it's a CRADA with the National Laboratory, and it's not a loan, so we don't have to pay it actually back. But it's it's a grant, which is great as an early stage startup. Yeah, most impactful part of this fellowship so far. Well, I gotta say at the beginning when we got accepted, it was definitely the money, because we were like, yeah, like we had, I think, like 1.5 months of runway at that point, and we were like, okay, like with this funding, like we can actually, we can pay ourselves a salary, like, and we can continue building this, because yeah, moving to the States and living in the Bay Area, like it's expensive, and we, yeah, like don't have an exit, or from a previous company, but are, or don't have, that rich backgrounds that, we would, could just like do half a year without having any salary. So yeah, at the beginning I would say funding, but then definitely, later on it's about the people when the survival has been kind of cleared. Yeah, and it's really like expanding the network, I think, of other founders, but then as Will was also referring to the kind of the broader Activate, network, the Thursday programming and the opportunities to meet with potential, mentors and advisors there has been something really helpful to us. Or we, also just yesterday, thanks to the Activate network or broader network, we also got the chance to pitch to a number of Swiss MBAs, students that were also directors at manufacturing companies and utilities in Switzerland and multinationals. And some of those connections were super helpful again for our, company development and technology development. So yeah, go apply. This is fantastic, and best of luck also from my side to the application process.
Thank you, Paulina. All right, so we have most of the rest of the time available for questions. So please keep dropping any questions that you might have into the chat, and we will get through as many of them as we can. While you're doing that, one that has popped up a little bit that got some answers in the chat, Jill, can you talk a little bit more about how it looks to choose a different community, how you might choose between them, and what that looks like as far as the application is concerned?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, yeah, I mean, I would say if you are not already located near one of our residence communities, so if you're not already within 70 miles of Berkeley, I would say, look at what resources are available that are going to make you most successful. I mean, I'm very biased for the Berkeley community. I think we have the best facilities, resources, community, connections out there. But, it totally depends on the company you're trying to build and the talent you're trying to recruit to your company. The advisors that you're going to need, the investors, the funding that you're going to need to bring in. Yeah, so look really critically at what you're going to need, and then pick the community based on that. And then the nuts and bolts of the application, you will rank the communities as you do, in rank order of where you want to go. And you don't have to rank all the communities. You can just say, I want to go to Berkeley, and Berkeley is it for me. And I respect that. That's awesome. But be really honest with yourself about where you would actually want to move and live and build your company. As you make those rankings. And then in the application, you're going to have to justify why you've chosen each community, why you've ranked them as such. So keep that in mind as well. Oh, I see a hand go up. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for your answer. And thank you everyone for sharing your stories. Really exciting to hear you guys talk about the application process and what Activate meant to you. I have a question regarding, I guess, kind of going off of what you're talking about, Jill. I'm sure you have applicants from all over, right? Like Berkeley community and beyond. And I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about what you're looking for in the particular applicants that are brought into Berkeley. Are there certain verticals that are prioritized in the Berkeley hub based on like the resources available? I would love if you could talk a little bit about it. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. We are looking for, in addition to the general things that we look for, which is, a really interesting technology, breakthrough technology, something that's going to have a big impact on the world. We're evaluating people who are like, they have that entrepreneurial drive that we can see, not that you are already an entrepreneur, but like that you are passionate about, building your company. So in addition to that, one of the main sponsor in Berkeley is the Department of Energy. And because of our partnership with Cyclotron Road, we are looking for technologies that are a fit with DOE's mission. And you're going to be able to take good advantage of the resources and facilities at Berkeley Lab as well. All right, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Terrific.
A question that I'm going to pass to Paulina and Will. So we had a question about housing arrangements and whether there's any provided. The short answer to that is no, but maybe Will and Paulina, you can talk a little bit about what housing looks like for fellows and what that process is like.
Yeah. There's no housing provided. So I guess that's part of the entrepreneurial journey of like moving to the Bay and like figuring that part out. I've been moving a lot around here. I stayed for I moved from Finland like in November 23, to here. So I stayed in a hostel, then I stayed at my friend's place, then I stayed in another place in the SF, then I moved to East Bay to a community house. There was a lot of drama, so I moved to another one, and now they're closing by the end of the year. So I'm looking for a new one. I guess it's just part of the, entrepreneurial journey, moving to a new city. You'll figure it out. It's community housing. If you like people, it's a great option. You can also get a lower bill. Food plan. The fridge is always full of food, which has been amazing. And more friends, more space. There's options, but yeah, it's expensive. Short answer.
Can I add to that briefly? So, because we are in the city of Berkeley is a University of California city. There is a lot of student housing, and as Paulina said, there is a lot of shared housing opportunities. We don't have anything specifically laid out for our programs, but we do frequently get lists of community members that are looking to rent to students and visiting researchers at the lab. So there are resources that you can lean on. And then also the Greater Bay Area is a pretty large area with relatively decent public transportation via BART. So some of our fellows have lived about 45 minutes away and found affordable housing on the other side of the East Bay Hills, where I live in Concord.
Yeah, I'll maybe close this say that yeah, it's Bay Area is not an inexpensive place to live, but there, just like anywhere, there are deals to be had if you know people. And if you're accepted into the Berkeley community, there is very, very active community engagement on Slack and other means. And there's lots of people you can talk to, people that are moving out of places, people that are aware of friends that are subleasing or leasing. And I wouldn't let cost of living be or your projected cost of living fears be a barrier to your entrepreneurial journey. And I think we'll be able to work it out.
Yeah, I second to that, because the return on investment is big here because of the people and the network that you build very, very quickly.
Switching gears to a different question from the chat, do you have opportunities to find co-founders within the program? Maybe Jill, you can start with that, and then Will and Paulina, you can talk about your very different experiences.
Sure. Yeah, so we don't do any formal matching for co-founders. That said, people do find co-founders along the way during the fellowship. It's part of what we what we hope you're going to work on is understanding what you really like to do, what you're good at doing, how you want to build your company, what role you want to have, what title you want that to be, whether you're a CTO, a CEO, working through that exploration. So yeah, people will bring in co-founders along the way, and we help you think through that. Some people come in with co-founders, some people are they're in the program, but their co-founder isn't. It's kind of all over the map, and we are pretty flexible and help you think through that. Will and Paulina, do you have things to add there that you've seen? Paulina, I think you talked through how you met Nate, right?
Yeah, so when we applied to the Activate program, my co-founder Nate and I had already met. We met during the spring of 23 at this new Department of Energy backed, kind of like an accelerator program called Cradle to Commerce, where yeah, we met and we started working together, and applied also to Activate, but it was only actually like in December 23 when we decided to go full time to pursue this. But yeah, that was yeah, how we met. But yeah, started first working together and like figuring out if it would be a good team, if we have similar motivations, values, complementary skill sets. But yeah, that's our story.
Then another question for our fellows who are here today. Can you share a bit more about using the lab and technical facilities at LBL and describe the process of finding and using the right equipment and facilities, especially for scaling up your science?
Ooh, I guess I'll answer that. Yeah, it's I right now my group is actually embedded in the lab pretty heavily. We have space, office space, and lab space in the lab at the National Lab. It's great. It's incredible. We're on the same floor as I think the room next to us is a scanning electron microscope, and down the hall there's a like full machine shop. The intellectual environment is really incredible, and we're right down the hall from Melanie and Katie and Dunduk. Actually, they're technically right on the floor above us. It's very, very close. So it's a very, very good community. Yeah, I think this very much depends on the kind of thing you're trying to do. I think like Melanie said, many people take advantage of the molecular foundry. And that's a resource that, I mean, I guess now that I'm saying this, Melanie maybe should be answering this question more than I should be. But from a fellow's perspective, ask and you shall receive if you need particular kinds of resources. There's lots of people who can guide you through that process.
Yeah, I'd love to add on to that, Will. Thank you so much. It really depends on what kind of resources and expertise and equipment you're looking for. So if you're accepted into the program, we begin meeting with you to try and determine whether the type of research and scale up that you need to do. Is that something that can be done through one of the user facilities, in which case, we'll help guide you to the right resources that way? Or often it's connecting you with the right collaborator, PI, sort of CRADA person that's going to help you shepherd through the right resources that might be available in their specific division that we wouldn't even know exist there, except that you've connected with a collaborator and they may give you access to their equipment. And then the third thing is, in our own lab spaces that we manage within the Cyclotron Road program, another common way that people will spend their funds is to buy the equipment that they want to be able to use, around the clock, and place it into our lab space and be able to use that through the duration of the program.
Next question.
maybe
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna, add just quickly of like, since we, only got accepted, in June, we don't have yet the lab access. Yeah, that hopefully we'll be getting that soon.
It does take some time to get access to the lab, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. So we had a question about co-founders. Oh, Jill, maybe you can take this one. So what does the process look like for co-founders who are applying, and what does the nuts and bolts of that look like on an application level?
Yeah, so I answered a bit in the chat, but because there was a question specifically about 3 co-founders, and can you apply separately or do you apply as a team? So you apply as a team. We have a limit of 2 co-founders, but you can have more co-founders. It's usually a technical co-founder and someone else. Sometimes it's 2 technical co-founders, or it's a technical co-founder and then, a more business-minded co-founder. Generally, the technical founder is the primary applicant. Is there something else I should say about that? There is only 1 funded fellow, I should just say. So we typically fund 1 co-founder from a team, and that's just because of, financial limitations. And so then the other founder would be an affiliate fellow. We treat you all totally the same. I often don't even remember who the funded fellow and who the affiliate fellow is. And then if you have a co-founder that you didn't apply with for some reason, that co-founder is, invited to social events. We get to know them. They can come to quarterly meetings. We want to get to know your whole company, your whole leadership team. So, yeah, it's not so siloed, I would say. Right.
Probably another Jill question.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little more about the 70-mile radius and relocation? The Bay Area is very broad. So what about people who maybe fall a little bit outside of that? What would that look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in this particular one, you're asking about Stockton. Yeah, it's right around the 70-mile mark. If you are willing to drive in, yeah, you can participate in the Berkeley community. It's just that it's important that we have this physical community and the connection that you get by just being in the same room together. But if you are willing to make that commute, I'm not going to tell you, to move a mile to the west. So if you can make it work, we'll definitely consider it. And then, oh yes, there's another question about Sacramento and commuting by Amtrak or BART. Yeah, I mean, we've had fellows that have commuted in from Davis. We've had a fellow who moved from Davis to Sacramento at the tail end of the fellowship and just kept commuting by train. That train line is fantastic, and you can get a lot of work done on that train. So if that's how you want to do it, that's fine with us.
I would also add that it's worth, even if you are located currently in the Bay Area, it's worth looking at how long it will take to get to the Activate Berkeley office, just to have that as a number in the back of your head. For example, I live in San Jose right now. It's quite far away. Driving here does take a long time. I'm planning to relocate. It's one of those things that you might just consider. Other questions? Let's see. The others that are speaking to anybody, is the start of the fellowship flexible? I'm trying to finish my PhD before that, but might need 1 more month.
yeah, we are flexible. If you are like very near finishing your PhD, yeah, we can work with you a few months in you know, starting a little bit later. People have different start dates of their stipend. I will say our programming starts in June, and so we will expect you to start attending programming starting the beginning of June, even if your fellowship doesn't start, your stipend doesn't start, and you're still finishing your PhD. So think about how you'll be able to fit that in with finishing up. And then I always like to say, like, would your advisor agree that you're going to finish in that month that you're planning? Because sometimes there's just a disconnect between when you think you're going to finish and when your advisor thinks you're going to finish. So be honest. All right. There are lots of questions.
Are there any infrastructure or processes in place for hiring current UCB students or hiring advisory services from UCB faculty or LBL staff?
Melanie, do you want to cover that one?
Yes, I didn't quite catch it though. Let me see if I can skim down. Which question was it? Can you rephrase it?
From Gabriel, are there infrastructure? Sorry, there's some feedback.
How did that happen? Feedback.
There we go. Are there infrastructure or processes in place for hiring current UC Berkeley students or hiring advisory services from UCB faculty or LBL staff?
Yes, so this also kind of overlaps with the question I was trying to answer at the same time, which is there's a variety of different ways that you can support people's effort and pay for access to supplies. I think Todd already answered in the chat that we don't charge for like a space rental fee, but there are facilities where there is an access fee, so the funds can be used for that. The funds can be used to support a visiting researcher, hours of time for somebody down at UC Berkeley that wants to help work on your project can be done through an inter-university transfer. The array of ways that you can spend the funds in support of your R&D project are robust and really, really depend on what you're trying to do, what facility you're trying to access, and what their requirements are. So we work with you, we find out what your specific needs are, and then we'll help build out a plan on, you know, how will you deploy your R&D funds to meet that need? Is it going to be an access fee to a facility that you need to get into? Is it going to be to buy equipment? Is it going to be to host a student researcher, et cetera? And we can do all of those things.
And we do share resources about various internship programs that are run out of the UCB to try to help you find those interns as well. Okay.
Another Melanie question. Who owns the IP rights for additional IPs while collaborating with Berkeley Labs?
I'm actually going to punt that one to Todd as the Strategic Partnerships Officer. I think he has a really good way of explaining that one.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie, and great question. So for a cooperative R&D agreement, which is really designed to be very accommodating to the needs of small and large businesses, we have a special agreement that's approved by DOE for use in these cases. So in general, IP ownership follows inventorship. So if you are working at the lab and you invent something while working at the lab under your scope of work, then, and no one at the lab was involved in the inventing or reducing your practice, then it's your IP. If there's something shared between the lab and you, it would be shared ownership, and you get the opportunity, like the first right of refusal for an exclusive license to that technology. So if you're working under the project funded by this program, jointly develop something with the lab, you can have exclusivity around that. Even better, if like Melanie is helping you on a project and she invents something working with you, you would have exclusive access to that IP as well. So either you will own it or have exclusive access to the rights to that IP while working at the lab under your scope of work.
Another IP related question. Can IP be coming as a technology transfer from a national lab, or is there a requirement for the inventor to be the technical founder in the Activate application?
Yeah, IP can come from lots of places. So every year there are 1 or 2 companies that may be spinning out of Berkeley Lab itself or UC Berkeley with technology developed on campus or at the lab. We also get fellows coming in every year from different universities, like Michigan, University of Washington, UCLA, that have licenses from those institutions that they can then use at the lab. And not every company has a license at the start of a program or IP at the start of the program that they're developing. So it really, I think the most important thing is you have the potential to be a strong entrepreneur, and there's a great technology underpinning or idea or concept that you're bringing to the lab and to the program. We don't require you have a license or own IP as a prerequisite to apply. Jill, anything I missed there?
Yeah, just to add to that, we don't have a requirement that you be the inventor of that technology, but we are going to look to see if you have the expertise to develop that technology and if you have licensed that technology. And although we don't require you to have a license to start the fellowship, if you're not the inventor, we're going to want to see that you have either you've already licensed it or you have a clear path to licensing it to be eligible. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of questions about eligibility from folks who are just finishing their undergrad, and I'm afraid not. So you've got to have a bachelor's plus 4 years post-bachelor's to be eligible for the fellowship. Okay. Any other last questions that we should answer?
Let's do one more. Could we use the R&D money in a lab where we were already working, or does it have to be in Berkeley Lab? If not, do we still have to sign the CRADA?
So, I mean, the funds that are coming for the Cyclotron Road program from DOE will always need to be attached to a CRADA at Berkeley Lab. That's how we deploy their funds. That doesn't preclude you accessing external facilities. We have had some teams that have done an intra-university transfer to access particular pieces of equipment at other institutions, including previous institutions they were involved with. Activate may have a separate answer around whether there's any other options beyond that, but that's the Cyclotron Road program viewpoint.
I would only add that if you are staying in, say, your PI's lab or something like that, that you have all your conflict of interest documents in place in order to do that commercial work in a institution of learning, for instance. Okay.
Does anyone here have any last thoughts or words of advice that they want to share with all of these hopeful applicants?
It looks like there was one other question from Vang about IP. So you're asking about Berkeley Lab will have exclusive rights on additional IP. Can we license those to any other big companies? So if there's something jointly developed between a fellows company and lab researchers, yes, there could be joint ownership of that. Your company would have exclusive the ability to exclusively license that IP in its entirety, or in the fields of use that you want to use. So the lab is not going to be going around and trying to license IP that we develop together to other companies, especially as long as it's done under the creative statement of work. If the lab develops IP on its own, then we need to try and find the best commercialization partner. But for IP we develop with you under the CRADA, you have exclusive rights to that.
All right. Oh, there's no more questions? Okay.
Oh, I saw one about LEEP.
Yeah, I see one more. So the Berkeley Community and Cyclotron Road LEEP are one program application that you get to via the portal that Activate manages for all of their sites. If you want to simultaneously explore and possibly apply to other LEEP programs, because the other LEEP programs are separate from Activate and Cyclotron Road, you are not precluded from looking at those and potentially applying simultaneously.
Yeah, and we do have a sorry, Melly, while you're getting feedback, there is something that you fill out in our application that asks if you've applied to those other programs. That is purely out of curiosity, and you are welcome to apply to multiple programs. Yeah, go for it. All right.
All right. And then also what showed up, one of the things in the chat was how to stay engaged and where to ask more questions. So we wanted to drop a whole bunch of ways to still stay engaged. You can go to activate.org/apply to sign up for more communications and also to start your application. You can also visit cyclotronroad.lbl.gov/engage. For any questions you might have, apply at activate.org. We have lots of events in addition to this one that you're welcome to go to. Each of the communities is having an event specifically about that community. If you're curious about learning more of them, you can view past webinars, connect on social media, all sorts of things. And Cyclotron Road is also going to have some Q&A sessions. I don't know, Melanie, if you want to say anything else about that.
Yes, those are going to be, I have about 2 blocks per week for the next 3 weeks where people can sign up for 15-minute one-on-one sessions just to ask questions that may be specific to Cyclotron Road, Berkeley Lab, LEEP program.
All right, so just to close out, I'm just going to reiterate what Tom Kerstetter put in the chat. Apply! Woo! Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing those applications. Thanks so much, everyone.